Hello everyone and welcome back to this Next.js and Contentful tutorial series. In the previous two videos we saw how to deploy our application, our job board application in Vercel and Netlify respectively. And towards the end I was touching on the subject of incremental site regeneration. Basically the issue that we have now and that we need to fix is that when you're using static site generators like Next.js, they give us tremendous advantage, namely speed. As you can see here, this is extremely fast application, right? So it's very fast, everything loads super fast. And the reason is, just like the name implies, the pages are statically generated, meaning that it's at build time, as you saw during, while looking at the logs of the deployment. If you look at the deploys and we check the logs, you will see that everything is all the pages, all these pages that I'm browsing, currently visiting here, are created by Next.js created by Netlify via Next.js at build time. Okay, so then what happens? The question comes: what happens if the data change, okay, in the data on the data layer, and in this case if the data change in our CMS, in our Contentful CMS, what happens? Is this going to be able to are the changes going to be reflected on the pages? Well, the answer is no. And to show you that, let's have a look. If I change here and I say, let's say Next.js and React.Js specialist, okay, for the feature job, there's only one like this, so it should be easy to spot which one it is. Okay, so if I publish changes and I click here on refresh, okay, if I can refresh how many, no matter how long I refresh the page, it's never going to change anything. Okay, if I visit the page here, it's going to be exactly the same. Okay, the changes are never going to be reflected on the front end, right? So, but guess what? They are going to be reflected on the localhost version, and I'm going to tell you why. The localhost, you see, the localhost version has the changes, and the reason is because when you're on localhost, Next.js really doesn't use get static props when you're like, I mean, it uses get static props, but there's a slight difference in how it does it when you are in production, on a production deployment like this, and when you're on localhost. On localhost, Next.js actually fetches the data each time. It doesn't look at the pre-built version. It actually all the time fetches the data, and I think it's just convenient. It makes it convenient for development, because you can easily change something here and it's going to be reflected very easily on the front end, right? Whereas when you're doing it, when you have deployed the page to production, like we did here in Netlify, well, the changes are never reflected. So that's something you have to know, to be aware of, and that's why we need to implement a technique provided by Next.js called incremental site regeneration. And it seems fancy, but it actually is very easy to implement. Basically, what we have to do is to add another parameter here in all our pages. And let's start with the index page. We're going to add another, when alongside the props that we return, we're going to add a parameter called revalidate, and we're going to pass how many seconds after like the frequency, after how many seconds do you want to revalidate. Okay, just for the sake of this video, let's say 5, and obviously the value you put here should depend on how frequent your data change. Okay, so how frequently your data change will impact the value that you put here. So if I put here like this value, okay, actually let's do that also on the other ones, the job. Let's add the same thing, validate. Actually, let me put to 5 so I can have enough room time to show you how the revalidation process works, so we can see it live. Okay, and I'm gonna add it here as well. Okay, added it here. Very good. To props, same thing here, added to props. Very good. Okay, so now I'm going to push this. Obviously, we have configured our Netlify so that changes anything happening on the main live branch. We are currently Netlify is configured so that any push to the main live branch will trigger a deployment. Okay, so let's do that. I'm gonna add git add all the changes, git commit message, add incremental static regeneration, and then I'm going to do git push. Very good, fantastic. So now git Netlify should start a brand new build, because it will spot, you see, it has started already, this building, and now we will have incremental static regeneration. Okay, so let's wait for it to build, and once it's going to be done, we're going to be able to see incremental static regeneration. So remember, the issue is when we change the data, we want the data to be we want the pages to be frequently updated at the specific interval of time, and in this case we set it to 5 seconds. Every 5 seconds at the most, the page should be regenerated. Okay, so that's what revalidate is all about. So let's give a couple of seconds to okay, that's almost done, I think. So let's see again the logs while it's doing that. I enjoy seeing the logs and seeing what it's doing. It's almost done actually. And here is displaying some of the console logs that we have in the code. Usually we want to turn them off when we're pushing a code to deployment, to keep our logs clean, which they are not at the moment. Okay, we may fix that in a subsequent video. So here you see it has generated all the pages on our app, you see, and then it has the revalidate parameter that we added, you see, 5 seconds. So it's going to revalidate every 5 seconds each and every one of these pages as we specified. Okay, so now let's see what happens here. Obviously this is a brand new build, so it has the changes that we just made earlier. So let's revert back the value that was here. Let's remove this thing and let's give it like at most 5 seconds for the changes to be considered again. So if I refresh here, I refresh, you see, let's wait, let's give them a bit of time. In the 5 seconds, it's going to be completely, it will recreate the pages and make sure that we have the latest version. So I should have added the shorter amount of time. 5 seconds, a bit too much. Okay, let's see. All right, I think now it's done. Now it's completely done. At least here, you see, here it's now Next.js Specialist. This page is done. I think this one should be done soon as well. Don't know why it's not, but it should be working really. Don't know if it's a caching issue with my browser or what, but let me refresh here. Interesting. Why? Oh yeah, I think it's a caching issue indeed, because here you see it doesn't show that anymore when I go back, right? So if I click here, Next.js and React Specialist, there's something going on with caching. I think it's because I'm using the Brave browser. It's pretty strong in caching. But anyway, when I refresh now, you see it's gone, right? So if I go back here, it's now gone on both pages. But still there's that caching issue. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, it's my browser, but yeah, definitely the latest data are now displayed here on the browser. Okay, so if I go here like this, you see it's displaying the latest version, despite that caching issue that's happening in my browser. I have to refresh all the time, but as you can see, yeah, the page is generated, and we can I'm sure we can even see that in the logs probably. If I look at the logs here, I don't know if you can see those logs, the builds. Anyway, I think I'm going to wrap it up here, but yeah, I hope it shows you the importance and the value of incremental site regeneration and how to use it. It's very simple. You just go in your Next.js pages and you add the revalidate parameter here like this. You specify the number of seconds after which you want to revalidate, and that's it. Thank you. Bye.